Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, ADHD, and really anything anyone's afraid to talk about, we talk about it on this show. I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. Doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, you're all welcome on this platform. I believe everyone should share their story because really it helps the next person that may be listening that may be struggling down the road or something. But with no further ado, I'd love to introduce you to my next guest. I got one half of the Good Times Ahead podcast, Nick Eustace, on the show. He's an amazing mental health advocate, funny character. Go check their show out. Go follow them on Instagram at Good Times Ahead Podcast or the GTA Podcast. With no further ado, want to take it away and let them know a little bit about yourself, Nick?
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to this. I know we connected a while ago, and I'm happy the day has finally come. I've been following your stuff, and again, I love it, man. I love it. What you're doing is awesome, and just seeing another person who's passionate about mental health is incredible. So yeah, I'll just give you a brief backstory on myself. Name's Nick Eustace. I grew up playing hockey, played pretty high level my entire life. Got to the point where I was playing for the Mississauga Rebels before my draft year and for the OHL draft. And unfortunately, I sustained a pretty severe concussion that kept me out for a while. Came back for the end of the season and we ended up winning the OHL Cup. I was the only guy on my team who wasn't drafted to the O, but at the time, it was soul crushing. You look back now and it is what it is. I played the year after trying to get a D1 scholarship. And unfortunately, I sustained another concussion, which led to retired from contact sports and some mental health problems like depression and anxiety. Yeah, so that's the gist of it for me.
No, and then just to get a little backstory how I found Nick, everyone. He actually created this video, and I had someone that he's connected with, Garrett McFadden, who used to be the former captain of the Guelph Storm. I had him on my show, and I saw Garrett post this little video on this guy on Instagram. So I watched the whole thing. It's about a 6-minute clip or whatever. And it's just an amazing, truly inspiring story because you speak from the heart, man, in that video. And it actually brought me to tears. It's hard for us men, especially out in this world, to have those heart to heart and those man to man talks, man. And it's okay to cry. And I've come to realize that it's okay to cry. It's okay. We all have feelings, and it's okay to have those feelings at the end of the day, man, is what I'm trying to get at. So
It
I
is.
commend you for making that video, though. And to boot, you raised a shit ton of money for mental health as well for another organization that I do believe you're creating. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's funny. It all stems back to Garrett, honestly, because he played on Guelph with a few of my teammates. So I had seen them post about McFadden's movement. And mental health has always been something that I've been passionate about. Advocating for concussions and mental health is something that I've done for honestly since I was like 16. And I wanted to tell my story in a very raw and honest way because it fucking sucked. Like, it sucks. So I reached out to a buddy and we put that together. And then I reached out to Garrett and I was like, hey, I love what you're doing with McFadden's movement. I want to partner with you in West for Youth Online, which is the organization that I decided to donate the money raised to. And originally, like my goal to start was like 2 grand, 2,500. And to my surprise, like we raised almost, I think it was 28,560, which blew me away. Like the response was fucking incredible. And it's funny you say that the video brought you to tears. The response brought me to tears. I was just so grateful and I couldn't ever imagine that.
So leads me to my first question, man. What words of encouragement would you share to someone who's feeling stuck?
It's temporary. Like I know at the time it may not feel like it and it may feel like you're going to be stuck in that mindset forever, but it really is temporary. And the thing I will say is you have to work on it. Like it's not something that just magically you snap out of it. You have to put effort into doing things that you will benefit your mental health. And that's something that I've learned again, like recently is like being more aware of what makes me feel like shit or what leads me to depression, and doing things that I know that will keep me afloat. Like, I have to use a boat analogy where I'm just trying to stay above water. And I know doing certain things like going to the gym, being grateful or being mindful, just little things like that keeps me afloat. And then certain things, alcohol, drugs, those kinds of things keep sinking. And unfortunately, back in, I want to say 2013, 2014, I hit rock bottom, so to speak. And that's when I got to the point where I was like dealing with suicidal thoughts and major depression and anxiety.
Now, was it the concussions that sort of led you down that path, or was it a little bit of a mixture of that, not being able to play a high level of hockey anymore?
I think it was a mixture of everything. I think the concussions itself, like back then, the rehab was you sit in a dark room for 3, 4 weeks doing nothing. And I think you saw it during COVID, like social isolation itself can take its toll on your mental health. But you throw in the fact that like I'd wake up every single day feeling like I'd been through a 12-round fight, and just having pressure in my head and knowing that the thing I loved and the thing that I thought I was going to be doing as a career was stripped away from me. I think just those combined, and not really knowing how to deal with that at the time. Again, you're 16, you're still trying to figure everything out. Just led me to a dark place.
And I know all about too well about concussions too. I remember my probably grade 10 or grade 11. I played high school hockey. I said screw the all-star hockey more. I was sick of the politics. I got to high school and I was like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna make this team. And I was the smallest guy out there. I was grade 9, only guy to make the varsity hockey team ever at the school, really, they said.
really.
Grade 9, but I just worked my ass off. I wasn't afraid of anyone. That was just my mentality, going through hockey at too. Didn't matter how big. I'm only 5'9", but I played like I was 6'4" some days.
A
And
grinder with some skill.
I wouldn't say skill. I was just in the penalty box a lot, man. But and I remember, like, it was, like, before I was before this big tournament in Montreal we were going to. It was, like, the highlight of my, year, get to go to Montreal for a week to
Yeah.
play high school hockey, get
What
into some
feels
shit
great.
down in Montreal, whatever, but I wasn't able to play. I was knocked
Right.
out cold. I couldn't feel my legs or my arms for almost 2.5 hours, stretchered off the ice. I have still to this day 3 herniated discs in my neck.
Oh,
But so, like, it wasn't the end of my career, but it was like the rest of almost damn near the rest of the season I was out. It was a
yeah.
long road ahead, you know what I mean? Going to the physio at 3, 4 times a week, going to see a concussion specialist. It's never the same after though, because I got like a pain in my neck at certain times, but there's not much I can do because I'm not going to get neck surgery like Gary Roberts did, those types of surgeries are nothing, man. It's not worth it to me it's like a 50-50 chance of recovery, or what am I gonna feel like after? So I just deal with that pain now.
Yeah.
Some of the things I use drugs for, the pain for that and the traumas. But I
Yeah.
feel the concussion thing with you, man, but they never took us seriously back then, though. You're like not like they do today, I guess, is what I'm saying. So it's a lot different now, and I'm glad it is, but it took all those years, all those, big names, losing them to suicide, drug overdose, homelessness, mental illnesses, addictions, and stuff like that. Like, when's enough, though, at the end of the day, too, right?
It's true. It's sad to see so many former hockey players, football players, just a lot of contact sport athletes in general. Their quality of life is just shit, to be honest, towards that like end of their life because of those head injuries. And I don't think anyone knew that at the time.
No.
Yeah.
And I'm glad there's advocacy around that now. There's lots of advocacy for tons of stuff now. And we just got to keep pushing forward and
Yeah.
being a voice for the voiceless.
Even for me, I had one of my former teammates. He's playing pro, so not in the NHL, but he's in the coast. And he suffered a concussion recently, and he was like, "Hey, like I played for 2, 3 games, and then it didn't get better." I was like, "Dude, you gotta fucking shut it down, man. I haven't played in close to a decade, and I still get headaches on a weekly basis. Like, you can't fuck around with it." He's like, "When does it start to get better?" I was like, "There's no timeline. It's not like a broken leg or one of those injuries where it's 4 to 6 weeks." Unfortunately, I know a lot of the cases it's within 2 weeks, 10 to 14 days, but then you have some guys like you look at some former players, it's been years.
Yeah, or I've heard, like, crazy stories. Like, I watched Daniel Carcillo, for instance, talk,
Yeah,
and he had X amount of concussions, like, it was crazy, and he, like, had, like, in the 10s or whatever the 1 year, but they just kept putting, "No, you gotta go out and play." It's just the way it is, man. Like, it was craziness down there in some of those NHL teams, like, they just sweep shit under the rug.
you just got your bell rung.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carcillo's a guy who I've followed for a few years, and I love what he's doing just in regards to the advocacy for concussions and TBI and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, it's amazing the work he's doing, and I've talked to other people within that realm too, man. I've had another former pro hockey player on my show, Ryan Phillips
Yeah,
from out
yeah.
west, another big name in the mental health community as well, man. Like just all those guys, man. It's nice to see everyone banding together and just like being a voice for the voiceless, man. That's what we need to do. We need to be a voice for those people that don't have a voice.
Yeah, I agree. And as you said at the start of your show, I loved what you said. We can talk about anything. Like
Yeah,
that's
let's make people afraid to not talk about these things because that's what we're here to do.
yeah.
To raise awareness, to share our truths, and just have a raw conversation from the heart, man. Shoot it from the heart, from your sleeve, man, and just share our raw, honest truths about what's happened to us or where we are, where we were at. That's what it's all about, man, sharing your story.
I love that. And that's something like I had always in the past, I had worked with some concussion programs at Western and my high school, and I'd just always been involved, but I felt like I couldn't be truly honest. Like I remember we used to go to elementary schools and put on slideshows and tell them about the dangers of concussions or just the side effects. And I said to one of the girls who like was the president of the club, she had never suffered a concussion. I said to her, I was like, "Hey, like I want to go in there and be like, listen, it's not going to be the case for all of you, but if you don't treat this properly, like it can fucking suck." Like for me, it sucked. It led to drugs and alcohol. It led to depression. It led to suicidal thoughts. And she was like, "Yeah, maybe we'll see." And I was like, that's not honest. It's not the truth.
No, if I spoke to a class recently and my buddy said, he's, "No, we're not sugarcoating it for the kids. Tell them
Yeah.
the way it is. Obviously, don't be swearing and those types
No,
of
no.
things." But I didn't have to get into details of the drugs I was using, but I just shot from the heart. I didn't sugarcoat it for him. When you share or sugarcoat it for the younger ones, what are you teaching them? Nothing. You're not
Bro,
teaching them if you're not sharing from your heart, man.
how did that go?
It was amazing, man. Just to see that these kids were interested in learning about different things. Like, it's nice to see that's actually part of the curriculum in grade 8 now because it was never part of my curriculum in grade 8 when I went through grade 8.
No,
I don't know about yourself. You know,
we
I got a few years on you too, but there was nothing like these types of things that they're doing in the schools today.
no, I don't think even when I was in high school, like mental health was never really something talked about or discussed. So I'm glad that's something that's being brought to schools and having guys like you go in and, as you said, not sugarcoat it, but also not go in guns blazing and scare them. But
Yeah, you
me,
know what I mean? Embed it in their head that these are the things that can happen. These are the consequences. You
mhm.
know, it was either jails, institutions, or death for me at my rock bottom, man. It was, and I was well on my way there if I didn't get my shit together. So
Yeah. And for a kid going through something, or not even a kid, but like a young adult, a teenager, to hear someone who is might be in a similar position as you were back then, that can be life changing.
So, who in your family has contributed to the person you are today the most?
And that's a tough question. I think everyone's a political answer. Everyone's
Hey, that's good.
contributed equally, but I have to give my mom a shout out. Definitely, my mom was someone who I spent more time around. Like my parents are separated, and I lived with my mom for the majority of my young adult years. And that was definitely someone. My dad was awesome, great as well, but my mom was definitely someone who was like the rock, so to speak. And then, funny enough, was at university because I suffered another concussion in second year, and my nana my mom and my nana, like I went to school in London, as I mentioned before, and I lived a 10-minute walk away from my grandparents. And I spent a lot of time at their house. And My Nana's a one of a kind lady. Those days where I was down, she would cheer me up. So
That's
those
amazing to have those grandparents that can do that. I have my 97 or 98-year-old grandmother, and just to give her a call to hear her voice, she just loves
yeah.
hearing people call her or show up. Still living on her own too at 98, man. So
That's incredible. I joke my Nana could talk to a wall. She just loves she loves social. Like I just went and visited them this past weekend, and again, spending time with them just puts a smile on your face. My granddad as well, but my Nana's a character.
so was your mom, was she very supportive when you were having these bad days with your concussion syndromes and stuff like that? Or did you hide it from her? Or were you very open and honest through the whole process with her?
No, she knew I was dealing with symptoms, more so physical symptoms, and anything she could do in regards to physiotherapy or both my mom and dad, but anything they could do in regards to physiotherapy and trying to solve like chiropractor or something like that, they were there, no problem. I don't think they knew to the extent of what I was going through mentally because I was like a rock back then. It's funny, again, as you mentioned, us men, especially growing up, you think you need to be this super tough, show no emotion type of guy. And I went through a period of time where I took pride in not crying, or I took pride. It's so fucking stupid to say now, but I took pride in being that tough guy, even though deep down I was suffering tremendously. And I think that just came with the age and got to a point where like I had hit rock bottom where I was like, fuck, like I need to let it out. And I wrote about it in a story in like third year. I wrote about my experiences in a concussion for Concussion Legacy Foundation. And I opened up about my depression and suicidal thoughts. And that was the first time I told my mom that, and like she broke down crying. Obviously, that's something no parent wants to hear about their kid, but that was a harsh reality. And I remember after posting that story, it just felt like a weight was lifted off my chest.
It's crazy what it feels like when you get these things off your chest. And myself too, I'm working through some, even 2.5 years clean and sober, but I'm still working through the train wreck I've caused or the trauma from my past, even just digging deep through my childhood. Like I'm working through this workbook right now on forgiveness and
Yeah,
compassion and empathy for yourself so you can be like that for others.
that's all.
And it's just wicked, man. It's really getting you like to dig down to the nitty gritty and really feel those feelings and just write them out on paper. And it was crazy. The other night I was like, what the holy shit, 6 pages later, I was like, what I was still writing though. I was just like, I'm not done yet. Let's keep going.
Yeah,
Like it's just nice once that pen starts flowing.
it is. It's fucked because you're not, I don't know about you, but for me, I never would have assumed something like that would one be so emotional while doing it, and two l- lead to such a positive reaction.
No, it's great just to get that. Sounds like do you still write today or
I so not as much, but I do every day. I'll write out what I'm grateful for.
I like
Uh,
that too, man. A gratitude journal.
yeah, gratitude journal, and then I want to say self talk, maybe not affirmations, but I'll just write out every day like I'm the fucking man. Like I won't let any external factor shake this belief, just stuff like that. Cause again, I noticed when I was at a low point and other people, cause I was always a social guy, but I used drugs and alcohol as like a way to go out of the house because there are times where you feel so low or so fucking weird in your own skin that I couldn't go interact with people unless I was high or drunk. And just I know for myself, as I said, being aware and like working on confidence is something that's huge. That's
Well,
you have
huge for
I've
me
said it
too. Like
before.
sometimes I think about when I'm gonna post something, oh, is someone gonna like this or so, but at the end of the day,
Yeah,
if it's something that I like or something that I put the time and effort in to create or something, it's going out there now. But before I would like think what others are gonna think. Oh, if 5 people like it, they like it. If 20 people like it, 100 people like it. I don't care
yeah.
anymore, man. At the end of the day.
No, that's something I've found as being game changing for me is just like having that morning. structured. I don't even know, fucking pump yourself up because, yeah, there are days where going to the bank teller I'd be petrified. Like having that interaction would give me so much anxiety that I would put it off. And that's just, you can't live like that. So
I
that's,
used to get the same way too, whether it was something tough that I had to do, whether it was making a phone call to a creditor or
yeah,
just or the government or a lawyer or having that tough conversation with your partner or your boss. Hey, I fucked up, but
yeah,
it's better to have that humility today and be humble about it. And there's so many new things that I'm learning about that I never used to even use in my life. It was all about me. It was the Chris show or nothing. And that's the way it was for 20 plus years, man.
yeah.
You know, it was all about Chris. I could care less about anyone else down the street unless you had something to offer me or you benefited me, then you weren't anything to me. That's the way I rolled. But today it's turning it a whole 180 now because that's not what it's not all about. I have kids to worry about. I have a fiance to worry about. You know, I have other things to worry about, not other than just me.
What do you think for you? What flipped the switch or
It was life or death at that point, man. Like I was literally gonna die sooner than later if I didn't get my shit together, man. That was that at the end of the day. I'd get clean for a while, then I'd relapse again. I get clean for a while, but for me, I wasn't changing the people, places, or things where I was going, man. So
yeah,
that's the problem. If you don't change the people, places, or things, it's never gonna change. So it was started with my phone number, started with just getting a new phone and wiping the other one out, and then I was started just talking to people that are in recovery, talking to
yeah.
other people about mental health, going to therapy, those types of things that I didn't care to do for so long, man, and just speaking my truth and telling everyone about everything. So,
That's fucking awesome, man. That's awesome.
yeah, it's tough to do, man. When I first came out about everything to my brother and my fiance, about the things that happened to me when I was a younger boy, and then reading Theo Fleury's book, but I read that way before I got clean and sober. But that sort of gave me the confidence too to come out about the things that happened to me too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
It
then
take it takes someone to, as you said, be vulnerable and share their truth to really, again, impact other people.
and I love what Theo Fleury says too, because I've had him on my show.
That's awesome.
And he even said, like, my purpose in life wasn't to make the millions of dollars I did in the NHL. My purpose was to help people, and that's what I'm doing today. Like he could care less about playing in the NHL, and he'll tell you that. Like
Yeah,
that, he could give two shits about playing almost 20 years in the NHL and making millions and millions of dollars and the shit he did. That means nothing to him. Winning a Stanley Cup, winning a gold medal, you know what I mean? That he still loves what he did there, but his purpose in life was helping people, and that's what he's doing today.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what I believe my purpose is in a sense too, helping others, man, overcome their fears or having them share their story. Because I have people that come on this show as well, and have never said one thing about what they've said or other than on this show. So it's amazing just to see people open up and be comfortable around you as well.
That must be special for you to be able to have that conversation with someone where it's the first time they're really that vulnerable.
No, it is very special. And then they'll tell me after, hey, Chris, just so you know, I never once shared that particular moment before, or, you know, that such and such a moment or whatever they've said. But it felt like a weight lifted off their chest, like you said earlier. Like it really does just bring a weight off your chest, man, and just boom, and the floodgates open. And sometimes you just start spewing,
Yeah, yeah,
but it feels good.
it does. It does. Typically for me, when I've seen friends or acquaintances start spewing, it's when they're pissed drunk and then they
Yeah.
wake up and they don't even remember it. But
Yeah. I've had lots of those nights, and it's usually not good shit that I say.
yeah,
Or the
yeah,
good things I do, or why did I end up in the drunk tank, or how did I end up in this city, or those types of things, like, how did I even get home? But, yeah, no, nothing ever really good came out of being drunk or anything like that for me, man. I'll
no,
tell you the things. I have a story too from a little while back, and I'm not gonna give the whole details. It was just a car accident, but I don't need to go into the details what happened. My point of the story was, like, whenever police would be involved, I would have some fear because I was always concocting stories in my head of the shit that I had done How
Yeah.
did they know, Chris? But this was like one of the first times I never had any fear or anxiety come through because I didn't do anything wrong, and I didn't for half the other times either. So I was just sat. It was just nice to be calm and talk to the cop and not have that fear or anxiety going through you, man.
Yeah. Must
But
have
for
felt
many years that wasn't the case though.
no.
So
It must have felt again a weight lifted off your shoulders.
exactly, like they have no reason to pull me over. I'm not doing anything dumb. I'm not driving around at 4 in the morning going to get drugs or whatever it is. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, let's lighten up the show a little bit though here. I got a great question though. So if you were a dictator of a small country, what crazy dictator things would you do?
I don't know. I wouldn't be a dictator in the like I oh fuck, I don't know. That's such a good question. I'd make it mandatory. It's funny. So I went and got a tattoo recently, and the tattoo artist said the best place he's ever lived is Spain. And he said it's because they can take a siesta during the middle of the day. I would make a siesta mandatory for every worker. I would say, you know what? Fuck, you have to take a break for a certain whatever Spain's implemented because they sound like they've got it figured out. So whatever Spain's doing, I would make that a law in my dictatorship.
Or even like Sweden, they have it. They got it going really good there too. Like with
Yeah,
the way they do their work weeks, it's a 4 day work week or whatever it is, and then plus in the summertime they do 8 weeks off or whatever it is. It's something crazy.
I'd
And like lots of these European countries are starting to implement these things. I would love to see that over here.
I'd have that implemented because I think everyone would be a hell of a lot happier.
It would, or like a 3 or 4 day work week, whether it is even if it's only 8 hours, you don't need to be working the amount of hours you work, and it's
No,
crazy.
you see so many people who are just unnecessarily stressed out because of that. But definitely during the summer, I'd have some sort of shortened week because we don't have like nice weather all year round. So if it's nice out, go enjoy yourself.
Exactly, man.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a good question though. I like that. I might steal that one from you.
Hey, use it on the show, man. Let's talk a little bit about your podcast, though, man.
Yeah.
How did that come about? I know I've heard you talk about it, but not everyone else has either. I listened to this guy's show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, the podcast, it's always been something I've been interested in and wanted to do, but just never had the balls to do it. It was nerve wracking thinking about it, especially just me on my own.
What made it nerve wracking to you, though? Was it getting in front of the camera,
Yeah. Just the whole thing,
putting yourself out there?
yeah, putting myself out there, getting in front of the camera, talking to, and again, I've always been social, but like talking to like grand people or strangers, or just the thought of trying to carry a conversation by myself for that long on camera, all of it just freaked me out a bit. And then I'd always wanted to do it. Like I remember telling my girlfriend, be like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that," and it was all talk because I didn't have the balls to actually put it into play. And then it got to a point where it was like, fuck, I've been wanting to do this for 2 years now. Let's just do it. Like my buddy, the co-host Tanner, he was down with him and I talked about it a lot during the pandemic. And we said, fuck it, enough's enough. Let's get this rolling. And I'm so happy we've done it. We actually, on our way back from the episode today, we were talking about how we wish we did it earlier.
Yeah,
Cause
no, it's crazy. That's how mine came about was the pandemic. I had been
yeah,
laid off from my job. I was like, what am I going to do? You talked about isolation and stuff like that. And if I'm
yeah,
left to my own devices, it's not good. Like, I suffer from mental illness myself
yeah,
with ADHD. And if you don't suffer from ADHD, man, let me tell you, the thoughts start going and just start ruminating, but they're scattered sometimes. Like I have to write stuff down. Like even I write like my 5 things I need to do at work. If I don't do
right,
that, I will just sometimes go around, start chatting to everyone all over the dealership. And then before I know it, it's noon hour and I haven't done anything.
yeah,
So like I just got to keep myself organized. That's huge for me, or booking everything ahead of time and having it in my calendar.
yeah,
I'd forget to show up. I really would. I forget about things sometimes, even like little important dates that are supposed to I should remember.
yeah,
But yeah, I hear you, man. I started at the beginning of the pandemic and just going strong, man. It was just something for me to do. Chat. I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do either. I didn't no clue about podcasting. I had no
yeah,
clue about anything. What I need to get. I talked to a couple musician buddies. They gave me a couple ideas for mics and told me what to do, and away I went. And here we
Yeah,
are
it's
today, you know?
awesome. And I applaud you. The solo podcast, it's tough. Like I thought about it and I was like, I don't know if I can do this by myself. So that's why I reached out to my friend. And you look at guys like Joe Rogan, and it's impressive. It is.
Yeah, no, and I plan to just keep going. I think I'll be going for years and years to come, man.
That's what I said as well. Is
I thoroughly enjoy it.
I love it. It's so much
Free
fun.
therapy for me. That's the way I look at it.
It is. It is. And just as you said, like meeting new people, hearing about people's stories, people's perspectives, learning people. And for me, and I'm sure you're the same way, I want to talk to people from all walks of life. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you've done, anybody. I'll talk to anyone because I think you can learn something from anyone. And I love it. And it's definitely something I'm going to continue to do for years to come because outside of my job, like it gives me some sort of enjoyment.
No, for sure, man. And it's a fun passion project, and you never know where it's going to go either.
For you, did
There's
you ever think you'd have a conversation with Dio Fleury?
no, it took me a while, I'll be honest, to get him on too. It wasn't like it happened overnight. Like I
Yeah.
had to go through his assistant. And she's the first time I reached out, she said, reach out in June. So I remembered that. I put that in my phone, June 1st.
Yeah.
And there I am emailing her assistant again. I was like, here's my calendar link. Let's book him in. And 2 days later, I had him booked in. You know what I mean? Like she told me to reach out. So there's other ones that I'm still trying to work on and stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can get those ones on. But I've had some just amazing all around guests. I've had tons of former pro athletes too. I've had some other guys that have played in the NHL but are now playing over in Europe and stuff.
I saw
I'll
you out there was a really cool guy you had on. Just again, I don't think he was anything like no title to him or something, but I checked out his Instagram page and he just seemed like an awesome guy. I forget what his name was. It was recently.
Cody Burns.
It might have been Cody Burns. It's slipping my name, but I checked out his Insta page and was
What
like,
was his
awesome.
what about him?
I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, I was like, fuck, this is awesome. Like this guy's got a guy from the States on his podcast. We're here in Guelph or Toronto and just
Yeah, no, I get lots of guys from all over the States, man. Like, I've had former Crip gang members from out in LA on my
that's
show. I've had
crazy.
wrongfully convicted murderers, on my show, just like all walks of life, like I said, man. It's just nice to have that on my show, like, just huge Instagram, like, people that have blown up now huge on Instagram, they're just content creators and those types of things, like body positive. I've had the Mara Guelph on. I've had just fun times like that, man. Just so many cool people on the show all around, man. It's just nice to hear everyone's story at the end of the day.
It is. I think we have very similar views on the podcast and very similar outlook because I'm right there with you.
Yeah, at first it was gonna be like real niche down my
Mhm.
show. But then I was like, you know what? No, everyone's story is valuable. That's just where my brain went. And then I just rolled with it. Like I've had, like I said, musicians, artists, you name it. I've had them on the show and I just keep going.
Yeah, that was like me as well. What's funny is I remember it to this day vividly. The first time it popped into my head of where I was like, okay, I'm going to start a podcast was I had to come into the office on a Saturday. I was the only person in the office, sitting on my cubicle, listening to podcasts. And I found a podcast talking about concussions. And I thought to myself, fuck, like, I know concussions are a significant part of my life. I know my story. I know a lot about them. Why don't I start one about just strictly concussions? And then as my brain thought about it, I was like, no, concussions is only a small part of mental health. Let's talk about mental health in general. And then led to just, oh, let's talk about life.
Exactly, man. That's what I love about podcasting. You can just go whatever route you want to go, and that's where it's led me. And you just have a great organic conversation. You know, I write out a few questions and then
Yeah.
just roll with the punches at the end of the day, then, man.
I don't know about you, but for me, like I'm still getting used to it and still learning. But my favorite episodes are just the free flowing conversation where it doesn't because I found there were a few of episodes for myself at the beginning where it felt like more of an interview than a podcast.
Robotic almost.
Yeah, it felt more of an interview, and again, it's a learning experience, but I love the free flowing conversations.
And that's what I like, and that's what people always ask, "Well, you gotta send me the I don't send the questions, and if I've turned people down, "I need the questions, I need to rehearse." I said, "That's not the way my podcast
Yes.
goes. I guess you're not a right fit, and I'm happy to move on," or I don't send questions. I have a few questions, and we just
Yeah,
go with the flow of things and just feel out the conversation and just go with it. And that's
yeah,
the best conversations you can have, or the way the best episodes turn out at the end of the day, and that's the way I've always done them.
it's true. It is true. You still have your set list, and I love that one question. That was
I got plenty more, man. There's tons more.
yeah,
They're never all the same either for every episode. I used to do that at the beginning. I had a set of questions, but then I was like, no, done with this once I found this amazing app. So if you guys don't use it, you should really use the app, man. It's worth the $13 a month or 15 bucks Canadian a month, man, for the
it's
Poddex app.
what's it called? Pod decks?
Poddex. I've had that guy on my show too, man. He's amazing, wicked guy. It was just I'll tell you a little backstory about Travis Brown, everyone. This is not an ad or a sponsored post, but no, like I use it. I talk to him all the time. I've had him on my show. He's actually in recovery as well. He's sober. He used to play in a punk band and play the Warp Tour scene for many years. It was an accidental, this app during COVID. He's like, everyone's on their phone instead of having these physical decks, interview cards. He collaborates with other content creators. I collaborated with him and created a mental health deck for this app. So there's 53 cards to talk about mental health.
That's awesome.
But then and tons of other like Black history, gay pride, basketball, movies, what would you rather do? What the
It's called
fuck questions.
Podax?
Pod Decks. So
Pod
it's
deck.
an amazing app. Yeah, you can get it off the App Store on your phone, man. And you can try it for free, which is amazing, man. But there's just so many cool things. And they actually do giveaways he does a giveaway every month for something new for podcasting, like microphones, podcasting boards, just headphones, everything, little things for anything to do with podcasting, subscriptions to things.
I think I'm gonna download that because we do having a little rapid fire toward
Yeah, this would work great, man. So any other podcaster listening, anyone listening, and we use it in our relationship as well. There's a relationship deck, man. There's a dating deck. Just cool, like just
spices
things.
things up.
Yeah. So like the rapid fire thing would work great, man. And
Yeah.
I use them like even on my stories sometimes and just to ask people questions on Instagram and stuff. So
Yeah.
everyone check out Pod Decks.
Check out Podax.
So, what should someone do, Nick, if they're worried about a friend or family member with mental health issues? What would be your suggestion for someone to do, or what they could do to help this family or friend?
I think the easiest and the most basic thing is obviously to check up on them and to be there for them. But unfortunately, so for me, like I'll always check up on certain guys who I know are going through certain things. And I know if I were in their shoes, I would appreciate it. Sometimes I can tell. And again, like I've been there where I'll ask buddies, be like, hey, want to go for a walk? Or like, how are you doing? Or Let's do this or that." And I don't know if you can relate to this, but they're far removed or like in their own head where you can tell they don't want to. That's like the last thing they want to do. They just want to isolate themselves. But I know, and I think you can also attest to this, you need to do things that you don't want to do to snap out of that. And
So true. Like, do those things that make you feel uncomfortable. Yes, it's gonna suck for the first little bit, but you'll be happy at the end of it.
yeah, I know you may not want to go for that walk or you're fine with lying in bed all day, but that's a slippery slope. If all you're doing for weeks on end is just sitting in your bed for 12 hours a day and not talking to your friends or not getting outside, then fuck, that's only going to lead to something worse. I always reach out to people and I try and get them out and about and just have a conversation, whether it's just them and I, but that would be my advice. Just checking up on them. And if you can tell if they're not really reciprocating, sometimes being like, hey, like, you need to do this, man. I can tell your mental health is a little. And that's a conversation that may be tough, and you have to go about it in a very, like, gentle way, but
Yeah, you don't wanna be too pushy about it. You gotta sort of go at it from a more empathetic approach
yes.
too.
Yeah.
Like you're almost in their shoes
Yeah.
as
And
well.
that
And I have those conversations with people a lot too. I love that you say checking up on others, you're checking in with others. I do that quite often too. Like
mhm.
I try to pick 3 different people, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on Facebook or through my I have so many numbers in my phone. I'll just ask people how they're doing. I'll even message clients just to ask them how they're doing on top of how's their new car and stuff like that, or just, "Hey, I hope you have a good day." People like to see that.
It goes a long way, like, little things for me, I appreciate them so much, and it doesn't go unnoticed for me, like, a little, "How are you doing?" Or, as you said, like, just checking up. It means a lot, and I know if it means a lot to me, then hopefully it can brighten someone else's day. Like, I have one buddy who I know, him and I are both, aware that, like, we were going through some shit together at a similar time, and he would send me a message like, "Happy Monday, man. Like, hope you have a great week." I was like, "Fuck, thank you. Like, this just made my day. This made my week." And I'd make sure I'd reciprocate that. And he'd be like, "Appreciate it, brother. Like, all love." And just little things like that can really make a difference.
It's nice, like, I got my son starting to do it too, and I'll wake up to a message or I'll get a message before he goes to school, "Hey, dad, I hope you have a good day, I love you." Just
That's
stuff like
awesome.
that, man. You know what I
That's
mean?
awesome.
It's nice to see those things turning around once you start doing it to others, you start getting it in return too, and I don't expect anything in return.
Oh,
Sometimes they might just see that message and they may be having a bad day, but maybe that brightened their day up, but they just can't muster up the strength to just send off that message or make a phone call or something.
yeah.
But so, at the end of the day, if you're walking down the street, man, just saying, "Hi, how's your day?" or "Have a good day" to someone, that really brightens up people's day. Sometimes you might strike up a nice conversation with someone, and you might have got them to open up about something that they were struggling with or whatever too. I
Yeah.
get that quite often, especially I'm notorious or I'm known if I'm downtown by myself, I'll talk to some of the homeless people or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm cool with it.
That's awesome.
We're all we're
Like,
you and I are both are only, like, one step away from being homeless too, man. I'm not too far behind them. Keep my head on the straight and narrow sort of thing, so
yeah. Again, it just comes down to you don't know what people are going through. And I find like positivity and just that happy energy can really be contagious.
for sure, but you can't have it to be for a long time, I was all about positivity too, but it was almost too toxic
Yeah.
because I was masking what was really going on with me, so, "Are you really that happy, Chris?" You know what I mean? Then I just take a step back and be like, "Alright, man, maybe they do know."
Very,
Whatever, but that could be in my head too. It was a lot of that though, masking. You gotta really work through your shit though too, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. I
not
think,
every day is rainbows and fucking unicorns.
oh, fuck no. You got to embrace every emotion, whether that's negative or positive. And that's something that I've been trying to learn how to do and stay level headed, regardless what it is. Like my coach used to tell us, don't let your highs get too high and your lows get too low. And that's something that I've taken from sports and tried to apply it to life. And again, easier said than done at times.
For sure, but you can't just keep riding that high, you know what I mean? It's like
No,
they call it when I get when you're first in the beginning of your recovery, like, when you're getting clean and sober, they call it, like, living life on that pink cloud, man, but that pink cloud doesn't last forever, you know what I mean? "Oh,
no,
man, this is great." No. You wait till a month 2 or 3, and that's when their feelings really start coming in, you know what I mean?
yeah. And
And they gotta really deal with them.
I think that's also for something that I've been trying to practice is like mentally preparing for shit situations or like hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Because I found I'd always picture like sunshines and rainbows. And then when something wouldn't happen or like my expectations wouldn't be met, I'd just be fucking crushed. And for me now, I'm trying to picture, okay, like, yeah, you might go like this, but then you'll dip right back down and be ready for that dip and just know that it's not just an elevator ride up to the top. You're going to fucking have your ups and downs. And just be mentally prepared for it.
Exactly. It's just like going through the ebbs and flows, like they like to say too.
Yeah.
One last question here, man. This is a doozy too, man. I love
Oh,
this
fuck.
one.
Here we go.
If the universe presented you with a perfect dating fortune cookie, what would be written on yours?
Dating?
Yeah.
Like, so
Like a perfect dating fortune cookie, what would be written on it?
my perfect what?
If the universe presented you with a perfect dating fortune cookie, what would be written on it? So what would be like maybe your perfect date or perfect woman?
Fuck. That's such a good question. I want to hear yours after. I'm gonna put you on the spot as well. My perfect, it would probably have great personality. I don't know. I'll stick with some. I don't know. Good looking girl who loves me and has a great personality. I don't know.
Fair enough, man. Mine would have to be the woman I'm with because I found her a long time ago. That's the
Yeah.
perfect woman for me. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it simple here, brother. No,
Yeah.
it's we clash sometimes, but we really she gets me. She's been there for me, like helped me out of the trenches and stuff. So I have to really give kudos to the for my partner that didn't leave my side. One of the only people, not saying tons of people left my side, I left my own, but she stuck by my side through thick and thin, man. I was
That's
going through
awesome.
my withdrawals, the dope sick days and stuff like that, coming off all the drugs and stuff. And that drained her mentally too. So,
Yeah.
kudos to her for sticking by me.
That's incredible. And yeah, I'm happy to hear that because there's a lot of people that it could take its toll on for sure.
Oh, it definitely took a toll on her, and she's opened up about it more in some posts and stuff that she's been making lately, just on her own journey. Like, kudos to her. Like, she's lost north of 50 pounds over the last year, just working out and working, and getting in shape again. So, like,
Pretty
she's
cool.
really put her mind to it, like, every day, like, disciplined. You just got to be disciplined like me. I was like, I don't know how you do it, but I try my best.
Oh, you know what? I'll rephrase. So a good looking girl who loves me, but who will always stay by my side no matter what.
He's taking my words now,
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
Well,
It's rare to
before we
find someone like that.
Yeah, no, it really is, man. It's one that you like gel with and stuff like that. Like they don't just come around every day, man. So
No,
another thing, if I could tell anyone out there that has a partner or whatever, never take them for granted too, man, because tomorrow they may be gone. So
yeah,
never take anything for granted in life, period. Because you
yeah.
never know what tomorrow is going to bring.
That's definitely something I've been trying to be more present and trying to enjoy the moment more because I found myself worrying about the future and worried about just bullshit and not trying to plan. I'd be somewhere and I'd always be already be trying to plan the next weekend. And it's fuck, man. Just enjoy this moment in time.
And that's what I like to do. I like to go with the flow of things. Like sometimes I'll plan a little, obviously, you got to plan a wedding and stuff like that, but little trips or like a vacation or something. But even just going on the whim spur of the moment, if we both have a free weekend, let's just go drive somewhere. Who knows, wherever we end up.
Yeah.
I like doing things like that, man.
Having
Spontaneous.
this, I love being spontaneous. Having that like just spontaneous actions in general make life so much more exciting.
100%, man. 100%. We've come to the end, everyone, but this was such a fun episode to do, Nick. Man, before we go, where can everyone find you if they want to follow you, your story,
Yeah,
and the show and the podcast as well, man?
for sure. So you can find my Instagram is at Jibbies11. My podcast is the GTA podcast. And you can find us on YouTube, a Good Times Ahead podcast.
Thank you again, Nick.
That's something I always forget to do. It's
It's okay.
credentials.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the time and day out of your day to do this, though, man. I truly appreciate it.
Thank
Before we
you.
go, everyone head over to the YouTube channel for my show as well, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. Smash that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you can find the show. It's streaming everywhere. And hit me up on Instagram if you ever want to chat or reach out and tell me one of your deep, dark secrets or just want to get something off your chest. I'm at Depths of Dark Side. So thanks again for coming on the show, Nick.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. This was awesome.
Thanks again. Yeah, no problem, man. Any day of the week.